we have absolutely illustrious panel in this particular discussion today, which is the challenges and opportunities for the healthcare institution. Dr. Sanjeev, the chief of the now world-famous Amrita Institute, which was inaugurated by the Prime Minister recently. But Sanjeev is famous on his own. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, no conference can be complete without his charismatic presence. So he is going to lead this panel discussion today. Then we have Dr. Joy Mammen, who is the professor and head of the Department of Transfusion Medicine and Immunohematology at CMC Vellore, is one of the very, very illustrious person in the field. So over to you, Dr. Sanjeev.
So Dr. Joy, you have been there with this institution since 1999, and the institution has done fantastic work. What would be your information or your impression regarding electronic medical records and its adoption?
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity, and I'd like to thank the organizers also and my co-panelists. This is a good question, and like all good questions, the answer might not fulfill everybody's requirements. Nevertheless, I think EMR is kind of the last bastion that remains to be conquered completely. There are good reasons for it. I think all of us agree that most of electronic making processes electronic start with patient care, finance, appointments, labs, etc. But getting clinicians to use electronic systems is a challenge in itself, and primarily because clinicians have not found our systems particularly easy to handle in the middle of a busy OPD. If you're seeing 10 patients a day or 15 patients a day, as it happens in some of the Western countries, and they spend the rest of the half of the day completing documentation, which is also a problem. And there are papers now in reputed journals about burnout because of high levels of interactions with electronic systems. So we have always been cognizant of the fact that we should bring things for facilitating work. We have been responsive. It has taken maybe about 30 years, and we have reached the stage where we are electronic outpatient records. It's a hybrid form. People can write on a paper and get it scanned, and the younger people, as was mentioned earlier, are moving to direct electronic entry of data. For inpatients, we have been COVID time, and I think we have started a pilot in a couple of wards where wireless systems have been enabled, and the complete workflow has been made electronic to interact between nurses, doctors, technicians who come there and manage the complete workflow. But that's a story in progress, and I won't discuss anything about that right now because we've not completed the evaluation of that. But yes, it is creeping progress. We need to do it. There are benefits, and I think they can be realized as we move along slowly. But we should never take the focus away from patient care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joy. You did mention about the burnout and the patient care and adoption. So, Dr. Joy, you've been the head of Department of Transfusion Medicine and Immunohematology. We have seen about digital adoptions, we've seen challenges, and but then there is also a patient safety agenda. And this year, WHO took the theme of medication with no harm, without harm. So, do you think any of the technology adoptions or any of the models which we just spoke about can reduce medication error?
Certainly. And I think this year WHO has embarked on this global patient safety challenge, which is medication without harm. And they've been trying to systematically approach it, as many of the international programs have done from WHO earlier, creating awareness, bringing in systems to make sure that different aspects of this are addressed, looking at patients and the public, looking at medications themselves, healthcare professional systems and practices of medication. So there are different areas which are being systematically addressed. But just to give us a scale of this, the global cost associated with medication errors is estimated to be about $42 billion per year. That's a huge amount. To give us some perspective, I just looked at the stack of GDP of countries, and about 110 countries have GDP less than 42 billion. So imagine you can run a country on the medication error cost that we are incurring each year, and it's a staggering amount. And as usual, these affect poorer countries and low-income countries more disproportionately than other countries. And so there are three key areas for action: polypharmacy, high-risk situations, and transitions of care, which we all, I think, will agree with, that these are the critical areas that need to be addressed, and they're looking at different strategies for this. Personally speaking, from the blood center perspective, we are no longer called as blood banks, we are called as blood centers, incidentally, which is a good thing. From the blood center perspective, we realized that we are under the category of medical products of human origin. That's what WHO calls us. And we realized that at every point there are opportunities for error. And so again, in our own institution, it has been a creeping model where we have a complete ERP solution for the blood center side. We have an ERP solution which extends into the clinical side to make sure labeling is appropriate and samples are getting barcoded. It's taken some time to roll out solutions within the hospital because we have very disparate, or we have very different and wards at different levels of adoption of technology. And the third and important thing is to be able to put a patient identifier band on every patient who's going to receive a transfusion. And when that becomes barcoded and machine readable, then there is an opportunity to reduce transfusion related errors, which is a significant problem in our country, I think. And we have been able to demonstrate a pilot. We are already compliant with the international standard called ISBT 128 for labeling our bags with barcodes. And now we are able to put a barcode on every patient's wristband. And that is also, it's taken several years, but it's rolling out now. And so we have developed an app which will help to scan the patient's wristband and scan the blood bag before the transfusion happens. And so therefore it will ensure the safety at the bedside. But before that, within the hospital, we have several put in like drug order systems. Allergies are documented inside the EMR, and it's made possible to display it at different points in time, at critical points. We also have a very active hospital infection control committee, which looks at use of high-end medication and audits use of high-end antibiotics, especially, and helps with antibiotic stewardship. So there are many facets to this. And certainly, yes, administration errors and drug errors can certainly be reduced through careful implementation of electronic systems.
Thanks, Dr. Joy. I have been associated with the antibiotic stewardship and infection control of CMC, and you do phenomenal work, and one of those topmost institutions who have guided the good principles of practices. So thanks to you and your team and the great institution where you belong to. So we now come to the end of this discussion, and I know there are challenges, but there are huge opportunity, and let's encash on this to improve effectiveness, to improve efficiency, to reduce cost, and ultimately patient outcomes. So thank you so much.